This is my first time trying to use my boom pole. I've of course watched some videos on YouTube trying to figure it out, but there's nothing like doing it for yourself for the first time. So I'm going to try to move this 13-foot long poplar log onto my sawmill. I'm going to try to back it in, lower it down. Stick around, it's probably going to get interesting. So obviously I still have a lot to learn when it comes to my boom pole. You could see the first time I tried to lift the log up, I had it all the way on like the middle hook back here, and I also had the toe strap pretty long. And what I realized is you want the log as close to the 3-point hitch as possible, but you also want the log as close to the boom pole as possible. Once I had the 13-foot long poplar log as close to the back as I could and as close to the boom pole as I could, the tractor didn't have much of a problem lifting it. But I realized that the further back you go, the less it wants to lift. And at first, you could probably tell by my face, I was pretty disappointed that I couldn't lift it. But The further back I went, the easier it was, and so that was definitely a learning curve that I had to get used to. So I have to replace the thermostat in my tractor. The old one wasn't allowing the coolant to flow through the engine, and it was making the tractor overheat. So this is the new thermostat. I'm going to be putting it in now. I don't know if coolant is going to be coming out of this hose. It should all be in the radiator, but we will find out in a few seconds. All right. $13, 11.5. So ideally you would want the small end of the log, the 11.5 side, to be closest to the head of the mill, but unfortunately I put the big end, the 13-inch side, closest to the head of the mill. I could take the time to turn it around, but that would probably take more time than what it would be just to make sure that the cuts are even. So I'm just gonna leave it the way it is and get cutting. I'm thinking if I start up here on the big end of the log and drop it 2.5 inches, so I'm cutting, let's see, 10.5 on this side, and that would hopefully get to 10.5 on that side, which will make the board be able to be flipped, and then that way I can turn the log over and cut from the other side. It'll make sense in a second. So I measure from the top of the log, which says 14 inches, but it's really 13 inches because the bed is an inch. I'm going to drop this 2.5 inches. So 1, 2, 11.5. Hopefully that gives us a clean cut for the other side. So I took 2.5 inches off the top over there, which gave me a clean cut over here. So the wood that we're working with right here is about 7 inches. I could go down another inch or so, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to flip it over and then see how much bark is on the other sides whenever I get a cant. And if there's more bark on one side than the other, then I can flip it and then cut the bark off that side, so there's not as much waning on the pieces of lumber. This may be one of the best timbers or cants that I have cut on my sawmill. I'm pretty pleased with this. I know a lot of y'all always get 90-degree cuts on your sawmill, but this is perfect. All right, so the goal is to turn this cant into joists or rafters, whatever you want to call it, for the top of my sawmill shed. There's already one up there. I just needed to make sure the length. I think that one's 12 feet, but this cant is 13 feet long. I can cut a foot off, but of course I can't add to it. So I just wanted to make sure while I was in the woods that I cut the longest that I could for what I needed. So on the top, we're looking at 7 5/8. And then on this side, we're looking at almost 8 inches exactly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it. I'm going to cut 1.5 inches off of this surface, which will make 6 inches, and that'll still leave this at 8 inches. And I should be able to get 4 good 2x6s out of this can. So I was able to get 4 2x6s out of that log. That is these 4 newer looking ones. These 3 plus the one up top I already cut. I need 16 in all, and I have 8. So I have half of my rafters or joists. Still need to figure out what those are called. And I'll do the other 8 sometime this week. Hopefully I'll be able to have the rafters up by this weekend, and I'll make a video about that, of course. I hope you stick around. I hope you watch that video. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.